Part 3 of The Present Age runs from pages 32 to 43. In it, Kierkegaard introduces this important concept of the public. He says the extremes of modern leveling are achieved only by this instrument of the public. This is something new in culture, a monstrous nothing, he calls it. It is the unique product of our passionless, reflective age. It is created by the press, this media institution, out of the lack of concrete connection that we find between people in modern society. So the public is made up of unreal individuals who are never united in an actual situation. The public is a kind of abstraction, something like the average American. Kierkegaard reminds us that it is real moments and real situations that sustain individuals. In the past, a majority might oppress a minority, but both of these groups are concrete, while the public itself is an abstraction. It is a phantom which forbids all personal contact. But because of its abstraction, the public is capable of changing in an instant, changing its opinion, going from one side of an issue to another. Kierkegaard says, in the modern world, the whole, the social whole, is not concrete and is therefore unable to support the individual or to educate the individual. The modern individual becomes the public at times and stops being himself. He becomes everything and nothing. The public, Kierkegaard says, is this kind of fairy tale of the age of understanding. And more individuals in modern society aspire to be nothing at all, to become a kind of third-party observer to their own times. This was what it means to lose yourself in the public. Kierkegaard compares this psychology to that of a late Roman emperor who is luxuriant and bored and goes to tremendous effort and expense to seek trivial diversion. This desire for diversion in the public is satisfied by the press, which is like a literary dog snapping at its betters. This produces in the public a feeling of amusement for which they take no responsibility. If the dog were to be put down, Kierkegaard says, the public would immediately say, it's good that somebody did something about that ill-mannered dog. The public thus is revealed to us as being light-hearted and fickle and fundamentally unserious. As the footnotes point out, Kierkegaard has in mind here some of his own difficulties with the Danish literary press. In the final section of this part, Kierkegaard announces he is shifting his method from dialectic to concrete affirmations. One positive thing about the present age, he says, is its greater capacity for action, and he notes that modern religion, modern Christianity, may be able to inherit and develop this increased capacity. The true problem with the present age is not that it lacks the capacity for action, but that it transforms this capacity into an escape from action, into an excuse for not acting. The present age, Kierkegaard says, abolishes the principle of contradiction, but what it loses in intensity, it gains in scope, in broadness of possible action, which raises the possibility, what if we could retain the broader scope of modern society, but supply its missing intensity? Kierkegaard then goes on to say some interesting things about what it means to live in contradiction with oneself. And this may be mysterious, but we should pay some attention to it and see if we can't extract some of its meaning. Modernity, he says, transforms passion, which normally produces individual self-possession and self-harmony. Modernity transforms passion into an extended scope of action. So each of us is able to think and dare all things our ancestors, things in a passionate age never could have. But because the individual knows and is all things, he is in the end nothing at all. And this is part of what it means to be in contradiction with yourself. The principle of contradiction strengthens the individual's grasp on himself. And so Kierkegaard concludes, the individual would rather suffer and be true to himself than be all manner of things in contradiction with himself. Some major themes of this part to keep in mind on rereading. The idea of the public as a falsehood, a fiction, a kind of bandwagon effect, appealing to the desire to fit into the crowd, sort of feeding and stoking this desire in individuals. The individual, in responding to this and becoming part of the public, becomes inauthentic. He betrays himself in a fashion and becomes unreal and anonymous. He loses his individuality in the mass entity of the public. He becomes something like the generic consumer and enters into this profound self-contradiction. I think also in Kierkegaard we see two different types of leveling. First, a lack of inwardness in each individual, which modernity drains away. And then secondly, at the public stage, a common mediocrity, a way in which the individuals that make up modern society no longer do so as concrete individuals in real relation to each other, but as a kind of mediocre and abstract members of an anonymous public. And finally, Kierkegaard offers us here maybe hope for the future, hope through a rebirth of Christianity and of passionate intensity, which will bring to the broader scope of modernity some new factor that may lead us in a positive direction. That brings us to the end of part 3 of The Present Age. We'll look at the fourth and final part next. Thanks for watching today. Goodbye.